Hello, thank you for joining me here today. We have a basket here full of tomatoes that aren't quite ripe. Now this is on purpose. I choose to ripen tomatoes inside, and I do this for a couple of reasons. The first of which is it eliminates the risk of pests coming in at the 11th hour and just taking out these beautiful fruits which I have worked so hard for. There is also weather concerns. You can get a freak rainstorm, which is never good for your tomatoes. So this just gives you control. It allows you to monitor your tomatoes, make sure they turn out just perfect after all of that hard work you put into your plants to produce this amazing fruit. Now I hope you'll join me. We're gonna head out into the garden and take a look at exactly what these tomatoes look like when they're picked. Then we'll head into the kitchen. I will show you just how I set them up and how they progress as they continue to ripen. Okay, we are now out in the garden. Behind me are the tomato plants, and we are going to pick a few of the tomatoes that I have left. I did pick quite a few this morning that we can bring inside to fully ripen. Now we're gonna look for a change in color, so either a light green or some blushing, and what this represents is a chemical which is in the tomato which allows it to fully ripen, and that chemical is ethylene. So you can do some reading on that, or if you have questions you can comment below this video and we can talk some more about that. But for now, let's get picking. Here is a tomato that I am not going to be picking. I just wanted to show this to you as an example. You can see it's still quite green. I don't see really any blushing on this here. So we are not going to be picking this tomato today. Here is a good example of a couple of tomatoes I will be picking to ripen inside. Now, as you can see, these have started to blush, which means there is a good amount of ethylene in these tomatoes, and they will ripen nicely on the windowsill. I'm gonna focus on this tomato plant here. Now, while it might not look all that healthy, it is getting towards the end of our season here. It does give a really great example on some of the variations of the coloring as the fruit is beginning to ripen. Now, there is quite a bit of blushing on these tomatoes. I'm going to be picking a few more of these. There's one, if I'm try to get in there, it's really kind of buried inside, that is quite red. That one's just really screaming to be picked right now, but we're going to go ahead and pick those. Okay, well, we made it back into the kitchen. Behind me here are my tomatoes. Now these tomatoes range from ones that are fully ripe and have been out for a couple of days to ones that we picked today. And you'll see the range of ripeness there. Now I choose to ripen these on the windowsill for a couple of reasons. One, I have a large picture window, and that gives me a fairly big flat location where these tomatoes can be in moderate sunlight to help them fully ripen. And also it just helps me keep a close eye on things because I'm in my kitchen every day. We will now take a close-up of the tomatoes. All right, on the windowsill, I have various types of tomatoes. I have red tomatoes as well as yellow tomatoes. Here are the tomatoes that are just about fully ripe or fully ripened. These on this end are tomatoes that I would feel comfortable utilizing today or preserving them to use for a later date. Now, I have been preserving a lot of my tomatoes by freezing them, and I plan to show just how to do that in an upcoming video. Join me as we take a little walk down the windowsill. You can see these tomatoes again are fairly dark in color, a more brighter orange or red in color. These yellow tomatoes are fairly ripe, especially this one on here on the end. And as you see, they get less and less ripe as we move along. So just take a look at these tomatoes. So those ones were fairly ripe. As we're moving along, you'll see these tomatoes are blushed. They certainly have pigment as far as that orange yellow blush to them that we're looking for as far as making sure they will continue to fully ripen. And as we go down the row, you'll just see that There's less and less orange, red color, more of a yellow or light green color. Okay, we are doing one more close-up of our tomatoes. The tomatoes on the left are the tomatoes that are fully ripened. They look like what you would expect your tomatoes to look like. Now, if you look on the right, it is very obvious these tomatoes are not even really close to being ready yet, but the expectation is that with these sitting on the windowsill, these tomatoes will be ready to be used or preserved in no more than 1 week. Thank you for joining us here at Osiadacz's Family Farm. Now, if you enjoyed what we talked about here today, I ask you to please like our video as well as subscribe to our channel. Until next time.